it is 3:03, so I'm gonna call us to order at 3:03 p.m. And thanks to everyone for being here today. Can you hear me, Jay?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Hey, let me know if you have any concerns. I'll just follow along. And as I said, I don't expect a problem, but it's one of the things you watch.
Okay. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3. Any public comments from anyone in the audience or on Zoom? And there are none, so we're going to move on to item number 4, consent agenda. Did everyone have a chance to read the very thorough minutes from the last meeting and work session?
Yes.
Any additions, corrections to that?
Uh-oh, you need to go let someone in, or I'll go let someone in. Oh, need to let someone in.
Let's see if this is Ron.
Oh, is it Ron? Okay,
Great.
perfect.
So we will keep going then. Any additions, corrections to the meeting minutes, or is there a motion to approve them?
I move that we approve them.
I'll second that.
Perfect. All in favor? Aye.
I,
Raise your hand. And so unanimously passes. Old business. Item 5A is wayfinding and parking signage. I have met with the draft person and turned over our notes from that meeting. Only quite recently, honestly. So I should have some drafts back from them by our next meeting. Gazebo Island paver project. I spoke with Lisa Kosalak, who is the person that engraved the stones at the Gazebo Island. She also did the ones at the church. And she is quite busy with the holidays and getting her customer things out. But she believes that she still has order forms from when the town did it before. So she's going to pull those out, see if there's any adjustments on pricing that needs to be done on her end. And I think if I bring that back to the next meeting, we can discuss what we would recommend in moving forward with that.
and don't forget that Robert King has leftover pavers in his garage that he's really wanting to get rid of. And so we can find a place to store that, like at Public Works or something like that. That would be, and just to have an inventory of what we have available.
Yes.
How many are there?
I don't know.
Well, there's Joyland. We probably have room in our little tool shed.
Mhm.
Or I've got stuff that's stored on the back on some pallets.
Again, we'll make a recommendation. She did mention that Robert King had those, and it's good to get possession of those. Because if we have them cut even from the same quarry, they're going to be a different color now.
Okay.
But there are, I looked at when I was out there a few days ago at the gazebo, and there's probably 100+ stones that could
Oh, that are just
be
fillers.
filled in.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Yeah.
but it's nice to be able to pull one up, replace it with
Yeah.
another one while it's,
True.
or helps us manage the process. So thanks to Carl Chapman and Darlene at the church for helping me track that down. I'm going to move on to item 5C, which is the dumpster blind report. And Ron, do you want to present this, or do we want to jump into Q&A?
I think Q&A is fine. I don't know if you guys have the images there on your end, or you want me to pull them up.
Yeah, we do. It's in the packet. We'll, thanks, Nate. Todd's at another meeting, so.
Yeah, I've walked around the site.
So I guess,
Further down.
so Jay, go ahead with your comments.
Okay, no, I think the site looks pretty reasonable. I didn't know what you had for the pictures. That's really good.
Yeah, it's basically just a industrial fence, I'll call it.
Mhm.
Pretty simple conventional construction. I'm showing the road base, like you said, at our last meeting, our walk around in the dumpster area, then a small area for a slab for the recycle portion of it. The biggest question I had, guys, was, is the 12-foot wide big enough, reasonable enough for the dumpster truck to get in and out of there?
So I did ask the town manager to forward this on to the person at Waste Management. And I know that she did, but I don't think that we've had comments back from him yet.
Okay,
Um,
because I think we have more space. Again, from the diagram I got from Nate, I believe, there's more area if you zoom back up to that first image than what I'm showing here. Basically the area that's shown kind of is that gray, or excuse me, the green color. That's the area of the 42 by 31. But the area, I didn't take the whole area because I didn't think we needed it, but that's just my assumption.
I just have some comments and questions. One is, Nate, does that mouse reach over here?
What? I'm sorry.
Does the mouse work? Oh, okay. I see the setup. I'm wondering if this, I'm just going to ask some random questions. Should we do an industrial fence? Could the street facing side of it be something else to dress it up and make it maybe fit in a little bit better? Could the doors into the recycling area be on the side so that we're not opening them up towards the main street when we're in there? And if we move that to the side, could we maybe save one of those trees? Those are just questions. I mean, I think this works, but it does look like a dumpster blind. And that's what it is. I just wonder if there's a way, if there's an opportunity to dress it up without going over budget. Also, Wendy Park's right there.
Hey, Ron, can I ask a question? The picture you have up right now shows the truck that's parallel to the road right now. The dumpster load, unload would be parallel to the road and not breaking into the road, and the recycling access is also not in the view of the road, right? Is that correct?
It is. It's I'm going to get my directions wrong here, but left to right is the direction of the road. When you say road, because there's a 90-degree turn, right? It's going back in there.
Right, yeah, but the point that the truck would have to turn into a right of way, which is Old Town property. For example, if it was to drive forward by 30 feet, it would be in Clay Gafford's front yard, right?
Right, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and again, that's what I think I heard at our walk around, is that the truck would pull in there, back in, get it, and then leave. But
Yeah, and that is exactly what he said. He's not, it's a tilt truck, so he's just hooking to the dumpster and winching it up onto the back of that trailer. And there was room for him to do that without going into Clay's yard. Yes.
Mhm. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure.
You know, it could be shortened too. Jesse, I mean, if you were to put the recycle bin on this drawing to the north, you know, and make it more of a square, it doesn't have to be long and rectangular. If the goal is maybe to save a tree, I can't remember left or right on this image, which ones were more favorable to save, but it doesn't, this is just the starting point, right? And so,
Right. So in order from left to right, the tree evaluations, third on the left was definitely, I think is the dead one. The two at closer to the post office seem to be in better health, but for how long? We just don't know. With the amount of infestation of the others, it's probably spread. I'm just in favor of trying to keep that tree if we can, but that's my opinion.
Okay. If I can jump in, if you know, this rectangle, the recycling or the dumpster structure is in the middle of the rectangle. If you were to take that rectangle and push the dumpster structure to the top of the image, you might have room to save the trees. The trees, I think, are very much on the lower edge of the green area. Are they not?
yeah, if you go back to that photo, you can kind of
Mhm.
see a little bit.
All right, the dumpster would, in the picture you had, the dumpster is almost, the middle of the dumpster is almost in line with the post office wall. I guess that would be the northeast wall of the post office, approximately where that blue car is. You might be able to save some trees. You'd have to trim them up higher, but a dead one would have to be removed, and probably one of the neighbors, but you might keep a couple.
Yeah, and part of the issue, I think, is grading, right? I mean, because
Right.
to be able to get in there right now, this appeared to me that it's basically an island that's kind of pushed up.
Mhm.
And so if you grade it, you'd either have to grade it up, I would think, if you're going to try to save the trees, to create a level platform for you.
Yeah. Okay. So it may not be possible to save anything there.
Well,
Because you're cutting into the root structure.
I think you could maybe, for instance, if you were to remove the two trees closest in this image,
Mhm.
closest to you, and make the area more of a square than a rectangle, you might be able to save a couple.
Mhm.
I'd really like to try to do that. And remember, as we're looking at this picture, if we look at the island, so to speak, on the left-hand side of that, the top of that island, where the rocks are, is where the Mike Penman's property begins. So the more we keep this towards the street, the more it is in public right of way, and we don't have to get an easement with him if we can keep it on town property. So putting it in line with the wall of the post office, Jay, would put it more on Penman's property,
Right. And
who
you
owns the
have to-
post office.
Yeah, you'd have to have relief. It would also mean that the dumpster would have, or the pickup truck would have, the truck picking it up would have to make a tighter turn.
I mean, looking at the image to the right here, if the truck makes his turn, doesn't make the turn south here to get into the way that I've shown it, and you make the access on the street side, that might be an easier maneuver for him. I don't know.
Yeah, and if we're able to keep it, we know the two metal trees, I think, are the sickest. If we're able to keep the one closest to the post office, I'm less I'm a little bit less worried about dressing up that end of the dumpster blind, but
Mhm.
again, Nancy, what do you think?
I'm just wondering, are we having the health of all those trees inspected just to see? I mean, because if they're all at end of life and we are in the process of having someone there taking 2 or 3 down,
Mhm.
then, and the fourth one is end of life anyway, why not get it all done at once? So I think the health of the trees should be taken into consideration. Yes, we want to save trees that are healthy.
Yeah.
But that,
I can have Michael Till from the forestry department come down and evaluate those 4 trees.
That's probably the best decider. If the
Yeah,
trees can be saved, we can juggle the plan to to carry them along, but there's no sense fussing with it if they're not a good candidate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nate thinks that Becky may have checked into that, and I think that we did talk about it that day that we all met on site. So I'll take that as a homework assignment to either find out from Becky if she had any findings, and if not, I'll have Michael Till pop down from Woodland Park. And
Another critical information we need is a minimum size for the dumpster.
Right.
and did you get that, Ron, from Becky already?
Well, that's what the dumpster itself is what I was told, the 28 by 12. Well, no, 28 by 12, that's the clear area. No, she gave me the physical dimensions of that roll off, and that's what's shown here.
Okay.
So my
we
question
did-
is,
So we need
Yeah,
the waste management company to basically approve this layout.
Or at least
Well-
give us a minimum distance for clearance of egress and ingress.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks to me as if turning circle on that truck is going to be a consideration. Turning circle isn't going to be less than the wheelbase of that vehicle, and it looks like you do have to do a 4.5 point turn to get out of there or get it into that point.
yeah, it'd be good to give him the diagram that showed what's kind of like the legal of the property, and see if it's not more advantageous or easier to move to load off that street as opposed to where I'm showing it here.
How deep is the town property? The town the town area that's in that spot? Is that as long as 28? Is that as wide, the width between the two sites? Is that
Yeah, the
as
hatched
large as
area,
28 feet?
the green area looks like it's hatched here. That's the area that was given to me by Nate, I believe. Again, that's that first sheet.
Yeah, but
So
how
we can-
large, how wide is that?
Does it say can you scroll back up? I don't have the document open at my place right now.
I think Nate's a
getting
step
there.
away.
Back up. There on the right. We're looking at those dimensions on the right.
I believe it was, 47. Yeah, well,
All right, 31.
There we go.
31 wide by 47 long.
So that's a guesstimate. And remember from the site visit, that Becky said it'd be okay for us to push up in this picture that's currently shown. Because we're gonna lose those parking spaces anyway.
Yeah. It's really more of a call from from Waste Management about what their preferred turning cycle is. They
Yeah.
put in principle unload, and it looks like the dimension of the active area of the road is approximately that 30 feet. But then if you could turn, if you could get a truck crossways to that, that might be better than trying to maneuver it into the gap in that access area.
Understood. I will take it as homework to follow up with Becky about the tree health and getting Waste Management's approval of the site plan.
Mhm.
The dumpster blind on street side could easily be a paintable surface that could be mounted to the fence posts or even the blind itself, and then later possibly a mural to spruce that area up.
Something the green box people might enjoy painting.
Mhm. You know, we also have all those historical
Oh, yeah,
vinyls that have been put up at the Lake Street.
that'd be cool.
So we could potentially
Reuse those,
reuse those there.
upcycle them. Yeah,
Mhm.
And
absolutely.
those are very popular.
Yeah, they are.
If you've walked people around town, that's one of the, oh my God, look at that kind of things. It's a bad precedent that you make something really nice. People are going to want more of it.
There's always more art, right?
Good.
All right, so I guess, other than my homework, everyone's. Ron, would you mind sketching up that recycling door being on the other side? I sort of think that the dumpster company's not gonna wanna. I don't know if there's room for them to get back there and pick that up with it turned that way, so if we might want to give them the option.
So it's on the street side.
Right, because I
Yeah.
don't think that, you know, that grass that's being shown here is really not grass,
Right.
or I'm reading as grass.
Yeah, I mean, I can slide the whole thing to the edge of the property away from the other property if you want me to, for the time being.
Yeah, why don't we do that as an alternate, and then we can choose the best site location based on what their equipment can do, and I think if you draft that as an alternate, we then have the menu options to pick what's right,
Okay.
and be able to approve this at our next meeting, which we may have to do quickly in order to meet the timeline for Becky, but I'll also check on that.
I don't think there's a strict, I mean, this is like a spring 2023. So I think we're good on time with this. If I remember correctly. Yes,
No idea.
Okay.
No memory of that.
I think that's the case, but,
I like to turn and burn.
okay,
Get
turn
it-
him, you
Get
turn
it
him.
done.
And thank you, Ron, for your hard work on this.
Sure.
Absolutely, Ron. And it's so nice to finally be able to use some of your technical knowledge here at the PRT. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other discussion before we move on? I'm taking homework on that one.
I got you on that.
Okay. Stilling Basin, I did not have any notes from the town manager about that, but Ron, did you get everything that you needed from the contractor to sort of have a site plan?
Yeah, I've received the topo drawings on Monday, but I just got back last night. I've been on the road for a couple of days, so I haven't had a chance to get into it yet.
Okay.
But I do have what he gave me, what I needed though.
Okay,
Yeah, I think the timeline on this is going to be extended into the spring also because The communication line has not been moved yet, and it probably won't be moved until the spring. So this is another, I mean, it's, you know, yeah, bring us the what you have for a site plan, but it's not a rush.
Okay.
Nancy, what is the communication line? Is there a cable line?
I think it's Lumen Communication, and it wasn't, of course, on a site, you know, and so they found it while they were digging, and they're not going to be able to move it until the spring.
I'll say that while that delay is unfortunate, it does give us time to
Yes.
sort of have a community workshop about what that park could potentially look like.
Absolutely.
So we'll make the most out of this delay. And I'll, in reports, I'll mention, because I've had a lot of questions asked of me by neighbors down there and this week since I've been here about what's going to happen there. So I think some community input can calm some people down and really give people the voice they deserve to figure out what we're going to do there. So,
Yep.
Ron, if you have that at the next meeting, then I think we can schedule a workshop after that.
When will be the next meeting? Is that January?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
January.
Not to rush you.
No, I'm just trying to make sure I've got a lot of stuff that, just like the holidays, you know, a lot of meetings start happening first full week of January. So
It'd be the second week of January, January 11th.
you know, again, just my 2 cents, high level. When you look at the area of the basin relative to anything we might have access to, it's pretty small proportionally. So I know we talked about the benches that are up there and maybe terracing and doing that, but again, if I step back and I look at the image of the basin relative to that area, it's 10% maybe of the area relative to anything that we could do in there, right? So when people ask about it, I'm sure they're thinking, you know, are we going to have a big hole there? That's just myself kind of thinking out loud here. I know we talked about maybe some bushes down at the corner and different things at that where the street splits, and we can craft a view, but I'm just saying the views aren't going to be great if I'm going to do an aerial shot of some of that.
No, I mean, it feels to me like from the site visit, it's going to be more of a hardscaping project with
Yeah.
maybe some light landscape detail, and then more of a discussion about centralizing Memorial Park.
Right.
Uh,
Over uptown just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
And replacing historical markers and things like that.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm just preparing you that when I get the thing modeled up and looking at it, it's not going to be the prettiest thing. I don't think.
Well, I think we all have a pretty good idea. It's a big hole. And it's not going to be pretty. So if we can think about, you know, in advance, any way to soften that with some of our, you know, with some features that we like in town, you know, a little split rail fence adds some charm, some hardscape for that trail that comes down, which will be used a lot.
Right.
Is nice, and any kind of landscaping
Yeah,
to sort of soften the area.
because they said trees. The trees couldn't be within a certain, and
Right.
it was prohibited to even put trees because it would have taken up the whole area of that we were gonna
Right.
renovate for the park. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, and the
bushes
view-
and flowers are gonna do it.
Yeah, so the view that goes around, when you're on the street down at the lake, you know, you're not going to see much. I mean, we can do some, like you say, Jesse, some landscaping things that'll kind of dress it up a little bit. my perspective is more of anybody that lives uphill from that, right?
Right.
That's true.
Right.
That's a good one, yeah. The
Which
overall.
might be the people that have asked you. I don't know.
It's definitely been a mix. But it's like, unfortunately, like many other things, until it all gets torn up, people weren't aware that it was happening and
Mhm.
questions are coming a little bit late. But,
Sure.
so I say, let's make sure we use this delay in construction to
Yeah.
to start a conversation about, what's the best we can make it look and where do we focus next?
Get
Yeah,
a
so
little bit of-
I'll get something together three-dimensionally so that we've got something to look at. And we can kind of explore ideas.
I think maybe my next request to you might be to get Flagpole Park or Squires Park. It's got so many names, but maybe we get that loaded into CAD so we can work on that one next.
Okay.
Anything else on Stilling Basin project? I'm gonna move us on to the CDBG Phase 2 Gazebo Park. So the grant application for that is due in February of 2023. So we've got a little bit of time. And Dawn, so Dawn and I had an offline discussion because we ran into each other at the park, both doing our homework, which was nice. Dawn, why don't I have you report on the bridge, and then I'll report on the gazebo, and then we'll ask Nancy if she's done her homework on the playground equipment, and see what else.
Did you get that?
I did.
email?
I did.
So can I present off this?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, I was tasked to look at the bridge and to assess what it needs to be safe, and also to assess what it needs to be totally restored. So I did that. Upon my inspection, I saw a lot more deficiencies than I did on my initial walk by. And so I classified the work in two different categories. One, I classified as emergency public safety work. And that would include demolition of the deck, demolition of the benches, the handrails, the light poles, and basically renewing everything that was removed. So we have considerable costs in each one of these phases, such as the demolition, and then after that's the old planks and benches and handrails been removed, we can do a better inspection of the main beams that carry the bridge. They're laminated wood. There is damage to the lamination, water damage that is, that will have to be assessed once we get the planks and the handrails off. But there will be some repair in that arena. The next thing is, buying material and replacing everything that we removed, the deck, the handrail, proposed new benches, proposed new light poles, and the hardware and so forth. The total of all those facets of the safety emergency public safety work comes to a grand total of $105,900. And if we're so fortunate as to get some grant money, I'd like to see the bridge, some other things done to the bridge in that process. And that would be the restoration work. So when after we do the demolition, there are concrete piers that are holding up the beams. They've experienced, in my opinion, considerable spalling from the freeze thaw, and it's exposing some of the steel reinforcement, which is not good and needs to be repaired ultimately. Otherwise, we'll lose structural integrity of the concrete pier itself. So I've included in the restoration work additional costs estimates that would be incurred in repairing the piers, such as sandblasting the existing and using an epoxy patching for areas that are spalling. And then I'm calling for an epoxy sealer on the rest of the concrete. There is a buttress on the island side that half of its foundation has washed away. And so I'm calling for a permajack process to be used to shore up the buttress. In this renewal process, after we tear off the old deck, the handrail and the benches and so forth, if we have the funds, I would like to see an upgrade to the bridge. That upgrade is certainly elementary in its conceptual phase in my mind, but ultimately I would like to see something that was more period be rebuilt than something of the 90s era architecture, something more in the 1900s in the Victorian style, such as we would see on the architecture of the gazebo itself. So when we're rebuilding handrail, something in line of a Victorian style handrail. The benches as well. There's a lot of products out there that have replicated the ornate style of the Victorian architecture. The other thing that I called for in this estimate was different types of light fixtures. And, what we have out there is not, doesn't lend itself to that period. And so I'd like to see a different type of light fixture used. In fact, what I had envisioned was not using poles at all, but using a overhead trellis of such that would support a single light fixture in the center of the bridge, as opposed to a light pole on one side and a light pole on the other side. I think this would create a nice effect and would actually, while there's only 6 light fixtures used in a 60-foot span, I'm calculating using one overhead light fixture every 10 feet. So there'd be about 7 overhead light fixtures spanning from the beginning to the end of the bridge. And this is probably, I think, the most important part of the renewal, and that is some additions to the construction, to the way the bridge was constructed. So originally, the planks they could have been 1 3/4 material, thick. Right now, with the dry rot, it's only 1.5 inches at best. There's a 5-foot span between the two main beams, 5.5-foot span, which is a distance much greater than 1.5 inch material was made to support for public use. So I'm calling for a 3-inch plank to replace what's there now. In addition to that, I'm going to be calling for a new center beam to run in between the two existing support beams now. The support beams now are 7x12s and they're 20 feet long. I'm going to call for a new center beam that's 8x12. That's 20 feet long. In addition, there's side beams. They are only a 3x12, and I'm calling for those to be reinforced by adding a 6x12 on each side to carry what I anticipate additional weight in the handrail and lighting system. So the other item that it needs, but it never was constructed with, was cross beams. They help carry and distribute the load. And so I'm calling for 3x12s every 4 feet to be placed in between the carrying beams. All that being said, the additional costs that I estimated would come to a grand total of $215,940. The one thing that I would also look forward to the future in this upgrading, the restoration, is upgrading our electrical service to the island. I did not secure any estimates on that, but I can ballpark that an upgrade to, a 200 amp service for the island I didn't have access to any of the service that we have there currently. I feel certain it's probably less than 100 amp service, but I'd like to see it upgraded to 200. And while it's not on this estimate, we could probably estimate that we'd spend about $20,000 upgrading that service to the island. Are there any questions?
Oh, yeah. Don, were you thinking of something like a cast iron fence or an iron fence as the railing?
It could be. It just depends on what we would ultimately decide we want the concept to be. Certainly, the ornate iron is in the Victorian style, but so is the gingerbread wood as well. So
Just thinking the iron may be more durable.
that's true, but they also many of these reproductions are made in the resin, plastic,
Okay.
and they're more endurable than the wood, and
Oh, yeah.
not
Okay.
have to take care of the wood itself over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So you'd be thinking like a Victorian picket with little finials on the top or something. Yeah. Neat.
I think this is a wonderful report. Is there any way that you can email it to me? And then I can BCC it to the rest of the members? Would that be okay? So that we can sort of look at it also? I mean, that's a lot to take in by just listening. So if we could all sort of have a opportunity just to look at it, that'd be great too.
I think it's important to note, Don, that you had an engineer with you on that site visit, who cooperated. His situation is sad that it's in that condition, but I think we all know that it's got to be
Yeah,
brought up
it's
to standard.
I saw many deficiencies. In fact, there's not a part of that bridge that's not deficient in some way. So I wanted to get a credentialed opinion of the deficiencies that I pointed out in my inspection. And so we had a member, one of our town people that's a civil engineer, was kind enough to come down and walk through with me and agree with the deficiencies that I had identified.
And I don't know without the town manager here, what the cap is on phase 2 of the CDBG grant. So I think sort of to summarize your report is that an emergency stopgap repair would be $105,900. And for full restoration, more along the lines of $216,000. So we need to see which grants would be applicable. And then prioritize based on that. Like I said, because I don't know how much that phase 2 grant is.
I don't even, I had asked Becky as far as getting a timeline so that we would know when we needed to get all this put together. And she said it hasn't even been put on their website yet. So hopefully after the first of the year, they'll have more information that we can utilize.
But because it's a pedestrian safety issue, it may be eligible for a different type of grant. So I think we get this information to the town manager and figure out, does it fit into phase 2 of the park restoration, or is it a whole different project that needs to be done sooner?
Yeah, it'd be a good idea to have documentation. I don't know if you guys were looking at something there, Don, when you were walking through that, but
No, we weren't.
I'd be happy to help you, put together, especially if we're looking at alternates, for different railing types and things. I've modeled up the lake with our previous study, so we could certainly illustrate the bridge idea.
And so then I've done an inspection with Mike Pinman, who's not a structural engineer, of the gazebo. We felt like it was pretty square in most places. We studied the way that those posts are attached to the steel receivers that are then mounted into concrete, and feel like other than paint, we're probably okay there. And I know that's not in agreement with what you found on. So I think having an engineer, I don't think anything to go ahead and have an engineer write a report on both structures.
We did have Andre down there. No immediate safety, but it needs.
Becky did make me aware of a grant last night that is not part of this phase 2 park grant, which is for historical structures, which the gazebo has been deemed. That's $15,000 with a matching $5,000 grant. And I have an estimate to bondo the posts, repaint, and not upgrade the electrical service, but upgrade the electrical fixtures that are there for $25,000. So I guess we wait for this report from Andre and get a report written from Did he give you a price on what it would cost to write that? No. Let's find out if there's a cost, and if there's not, let's write it out.
The gazebo too.
It hurts.
Huh?
I don't think it hurts.
It,
And I'm sorry,
If he identifies deficiencies in the gazebo,
then we have to then we have to say is it an emergency, or is it,
yes,
you know, what's the stopgap?
it would be an emergency in my opinion. But
So we've opened a big can of worms,
I know.
and that's okay.
All we do is hope the fishing's good with our worms.
That's right. That's right. So the third thing then is playground equipment.
Yes, it is. And you guys out researched me. I'll tell you what, I have a vision, but I haven't gotten any numbers put together, and I promise I'll have that by next meeting. The vision is to get rid of the ground cover that's in that playground and put down the foam. Which is, it's more expensive, but it's lower in maintenance and it's just more attractive, more inviting. There's pieces of equipment that we can keep because they're still functional. However, one of the swings, if we want to have it more inclusive, have a special needs harnessed swing that we could easily attach to, you know, replace one of the swings with. Get rid of the sand pit. And once again, have that, that rubber put in there with maybe a smaller piece of equipment. You have to be real careful with clearance and everything. So it might be something a little bit different in there. But looking over the pieces of equipment that are in there, they're still functional, they're still working, except for the one piece where the slide is off and that needs to be taken out, or a new slide put in there. But I haven't got any estimates, no cost yet, but
Okay.
that's sort of the vision.
Again, sounds like we're on the right track. Okay. For sure. I think it'll help to know what the cap is on this phase 2
Yes.
grant, and where other places we might potentially be able to get
Well,
funding
and
for the
the-
bridge repairs.
The phase 1 was basically, we need to get back to what the phase 1 was. It was ADA. So phase 2, you know, the playground can play into that ADA piece because it was supposed to be in the phase 1, but ran out of money. So, you know, putting in some ADA inclusive, accessible equipment will help meet that criteria of ADA.
And it's always the right thing to do.
Yes, and it's always the right thing to do. And there's a lot of cool stuff out there. However, it is all with a price tag. So,
Actually, you're the new service that you're calling for is lends itself to ADA than the sand pit, because they can't. move
yes,
there.
exactly. That's why, I mean, sand is not your friend on a playground. I mean, it's just a big cat box. So, you know, just getting rid of that sand would make a huge difference anyway. It's just a matter of knowing what equipment you could put in there. Because once again, you have clearance of different equipment and what you can put in certain areas, so.
No more scoop shovels. They're probably gone by now.
Well, I think you can still have those, but they don't last. They're not very durable.
Well, they won't be scooping any sand anymore.
so. True.
Okay. Jesse, if Nancy's finished, I can close the loop here on the homework assignments. The dog chewed up mine. I don't have a heck of a lot to say about the restrooms. That will take some time to follow up, just to complete the list.
As suspected, Jay.
Yeah, I,
Didn't come to school, much less have your homework.
well, yeah, you assigned me a PhD thesis.
I'm just teasing, obviously.
I know.
Yeah,
But yeah, until we find the documentation on that structure, there's not a lot we can do.
gonna make myself a note on that. All right, anything else on Gazebo Park? If not, I'm gonna move on to item 6A, which is Catamount Trailhead.
You want to, Jay, do you want to describe what we talked about at the Friends group about the ice flow up at Catamount? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry about that. The ice flow is very thin. The ice flow has moved to the southeast of the excuse me, to the southeast edge of the bridge, or southwest edge of the bridge, excuse me. And it is substantial and unpassable. Right now, Thomas Trail, the ending of Thomas Trail is presents you with a very difficult ice crossing, ice dam. That's up the hill from the bridge area. Thomas Trail is not passable without great effort. Would not go on there without good crampons or spikes. I have those, I can walk it, but I think we're at a stage where we need to post that area to say it is blocked. Likewise, the approach to the bridge from the I'm going to call it the south end, from the Hondo end of the connection, is not passable. There is a very thick ice dam there. Water has been, because the water is no longer flowing around on the Belvedere end. It now it overflow now goes over the Hondo end, and it's formed a substantial ice dam. I think the Hondo approach to Catamount and the beginning of the Thomas Trail where it joins Catamount are hazardous approaches. And I would recommend that we post those as post those in a way to warn people that they are difficult passages. I don't know if we need to close them specifically. They certainly don't look they don't look like you would want to have the average person hiking there. I hope I've covered that reasonably. Nancy, if you want to add anything, please jump in.
I'm just thinking, when we decided to put up the Welcome Center and the different trailheads, and we had talked about putting up trail conditions. Is this something that we put down on the Welcome Center and possibly at Hondo and Belvedere? I mean, there's already signs there saying ice flow, I don't know exactly what they say. But maybe before they even get up there, we put something like Lake Street and Welcome Center and have trail conditions there.
Yeah, I think it'd be correct to post those at the beginning of all those locations. You would want to have them at the beginning of the Thomas Trail where it joins Crystal Creek. You would want to have one at the base, the Lollipop at the end of Hondo. And you would want to have one at the union between Catamount and Thomas, as well as the Welcome Center.
So I guess my question is, are we saying that extreme conditions exist and only extremely knowledgeable people do it, or are we better to close it for the season? What
We
are the
could-
pros and cons of closing it?
People will self-classify. Um, You know, I don't know if, I have not tested it with simple devices like screw shoes or nano spikes. I think a competent person could cross with screw shoes, which are, simple modification of running shoes or other materials, but I doubt if many people would know. You wouldn't always have people knowing what those are or knowing how to deal with that stuff. Probably best to say they're closed. I hate to do that, but I think that would be a good thing to do. That would be closing the Hondo access to Catamount and closing the Thomas Trail. Actually closing the end of the Thomas Trail.
Well, you'd have to
People-
close the Thomas Trail because you couldn't, I mean, it'd just be like an up back then.
Yeah,
mean,
which is what I've done when I've hiked that. The Thomas Trail is reasonable as an out and back, but coming from the beginning of the gorge, there's a transition where you step down to the stream. The stream itself is extremely hazardous. I wonder what's our best approach for a liability question? Do we say
Our
it's
best approach for a liability question is to close it.
Yeah.
okay?
I'm interested to hear, Don.
I want to, look at the logistics of managing all the trails that are in town as far as PRT has authority over. And I would find that our capacity to do so in an integral way would be very difficult based on the way we're set up now.
Mhm.
What I mean by that is determining which trails are open, which ones are closed, what your access is, and that sort of thing. I would suggest maybe the best approach is just issuing a general winter warning for all the trails, because there's springs, there's ice everywhere you go, and they
Mhm.
could be hazardous. So I'm thinking maybe we just issue a general winter warning, an advisory, and try to stay away from so this trail's open, this trail's closed. I think that there's a general understanding that trails in the wintertime are more hazardous than in the summertime when there's no snow or ice. Unless we incorporate, more help that has regular monitoring of our trail system, I think we would be, carrying a heavy burden trying to do it within this committee.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know that the Crystal Falls Trail has a spring which right now is passable, but with a little more flow or a little more cold weather would become a very dangerous spot. And watching that to turn that trail off would be painful because it may change over a period of days.
So I'm gonna say this, and you guys don't have to agree with me, but it's what I'm thinking, is that a general warning and notification about all trails is a great idea. And it's easy to do. But because we have a known sort of extreme hazard at the Thomas Trail, I think we should recommend closure.
And the thing is, we are an advisory committee,
Right,
so we have to send that to the board.
right.
It's gonna be another month before they have a meeting. That's another month that the trail's open. That is gonna be hazardous. So that's also the problem too. So I'm in agreement with Dawn is posting, you know, we have hike at your own risk. We can put the warnings up there that there is the ice flows, you know, have it down on the Welcome Center at Lake Street before they even get up there. And yes, you're gonna have people go up there because they really don't know what they're getting into.
Mhm.
And they'll probably try it and then come back down. Hopefully, they're smart enough to do that. But I don't think we can, I think it's gonna be a full month before we even get it to the board, and then it's gonna be, you know, how much longer do we keep it closed? And then, you know, we have all that logistics with it also. So I'm leaning towards posting the conditions and hoping that, you know, that people are reading and knowing what their limitations are.
Okay, can we make a commentary that there are hazardous conditions at some portion of the trail? Is that within our range?
I would not recommend that, not,
Okay,
we need to stay positive and understand that certain, you know, like JU or I would not
Mhm.
have a problem crossing an ice flow because we have the proper skill and equipment to do so.
Yeah.
But I think that just advising the public that the trails have ice flow, and if you encounter such, we recommend that you turn around and return and not try to cross the ice flows.
yeah,
And just keep it positive. And I understand, Jesse, you know, when we get a report that, well, Hondo's just impassable. Well, it may be for, you know, 90% of your hikers, but the other 10% are skilled and are qualified to, you know, to cross ice. But when we, you know, what happens when we have something over on Crystal and nobody's been up on Crystal, and we know there's ice flows up there at certain times of the year that are practically impassable. What happens when we don't report on that and somebody would encounter it and possibly be injured and say, well, PRT should have said something about it. They did over on Hondo.
That's why I agree that our blanket statement of, you know, winter conditions exist, you may encounter this or this. Be prepared with the correct equipment. I think the blanket statement covers us in a situation that we're unaware of.
Mhm.
But if a situation exists at the bridge where we are aware and we know that it's only going to get worse through the rest of the winter,
Is there an ice sign on Hondo?
Yes.
there is. And when you talk about the dumb hiker, I pretty much picture that's me. No, it's true. And if I see a sign that says you know, you need specialized equipment to go further, I'm turning around. So I think that's a good way to message it. And I'm never in favor of closing the trail, but I always want people to be safe.
Yeah.
So I think specifying that you need specialized equipment to cross or to go further. I think that's within our purview.
I believe so, because I mean, I put up information on the trails on the Welcome Center.
Mhm.
And I don't have to go through a board approval for that because that is within our scope. So I think if, you know, if we draft up a sign and I'll laminate it and I'll, you know, post it, I think that is I don't think it's something that has to go through board because we have also done other things, like the trail information, the trail
agree.
maps, everything else that are on the trailheads. So, I don't know if, I put on there that PRT, action was requested. I think that was in case we were going to do a closure and then we'd have to do an advice memo to the board. But I don't think I don't know. Do you think there needs to be a motion or anything to make this official? Or just an action item?
I think we could do an action item today that says we're gonna post signs because I feel like we have the authority to do so. And if we don't, we'll be told otherwise.
Right?
So we go ahead and we make the action, but I think that we put together an advice memo to let the Board of Trustees
No, the
know
condition.
the condition, what we found and what we've done.
Okay.
Um,
I could also put that not in an advice memo, but in a committee report. That can be put in as part of a committee report.
so I've done a terrible job of attending Board of Trustee meetings. As of late. I'll do better. How are our advice memos given to the board? Are those going into the packet? Or are those
Those
being
go into the packet and
read? Are those being discussed? What happens to
sometimes,
them?
sometimes they're discussed, sometimes they're, it just depends on the topic. But, it doesn't get the depth of it because you're not there presenting sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Heard.
But yeah, I think an action item to make a general winter advisory statement to be posted at trailheads and then putting that information into a committee report to the board. That sound okay?
Sounds perfect.
Okay. And I will be more than happy to take that action. But I'm gonna give it to Jay so he can hike it up there. No.
I'd have no problem with that.
No, I'll post them, no worries.
Can you put,
I'm close to the Thomas trailhead, so if you pass one to me, I can certainly put that up.
And something else, I can draft something and then I can BCC all you guys and get some feedback on it as far as word verbiage and how
Mhm.
to, that type of thing.
But if I can summarize, we think it's within our view, within our purview. And once something is wordsmith to a reasonable degree, we can post it. Or do we need to go back through the board?
Nope.
No, I
I
think we
don't, yeah,
post.
I thought so. Good. So if you BCC that round the horn, I will post it within a short time. Over here, and you can do the others if you wish.
Would it be worth asking that some signs be made with the town's sign making machine that say extreme hiking conditions exist ahead and post those?
Because those could be used again and again. They could be attached to some of the base signs that are present, the vertical posts, and then removed in the spring.
Well, do you remember exactly what the signs say about the ice flow? Because there are signs on both sides about the ice flow. Do you remember, Don?
ice flow ahead, pedestrian traffic, prohibited, I believe.
Right.
But
But it-
because those are up in July, I sort of don't look at those anymore.
Right.
I know, I agreed.
So,
There,
so a new red sign
Yeah.
that says, extreme conditions exist only when they exist
true.
might, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just,
No, I agree.
And I don't know that those signs even belong to the town. I think that the
Oh, that's true too.
CSU probably put that on there because that's their road that they own.
I don't believe the sign on Hondo is on CSU property. I think that's actually on the town road. But that's, that's just one of the things that happen when we don't have clear definitions of who's doing what.
So here's my thunk
Okay,
is, let's get the verbiage right. I'll send it out. Temporarily, we'll put up the laminated ones and then we can discuss with the town manager, whoever, Public Works to see what it would take to make up some permanent signs.
Okay. So we start with the laminated signs and then follow up with something.
Because if
Seasonal-
it's
Seasonal permanent,
permanent,
permanent seasonal signs.
because if it's something we need to put up right away, then let's get it put up right away.
I agree. 100%.
And then we can follow up with something more permanent.
But like as Jesse said, we don't want a sign that's up there all year round. We
True.
want, oh, it's a new sign.
Yeah,
It must really be bad up there.
Yeah.
So we'll turn around.
sounds good.
Okay, here's my thought. then.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm with you. I'm just gonna,
Okay.
so we're gonna take the action of posting winter conditions on trailheads.
Yes,
And we're gonna work out the verbiage on that and we're gonna do it on our
Yes.
own. And we're gonna request 6 signs from town be printed on this town sign making machine that
Yes.
say extreme conditions existed ahead.
mhm,
And we'll ask for authorization to put those up as necessary through the season.
perfect.
Good.
Yep.
So that probably was a motion.
Oh, that was a motion?
No, I guess because we're making a request to the town, but I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay,
Um,
you can move that.
yeah, let's move that.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is Ron still there? He knocked.
All who are confused? No, I think we got it.
I got it.
I think we got it.
We muddled through it.
Yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry
Absolutely.
from the dumb hiker. I was still wearing my cowboy boots hiking until Dawn made me take them off, so.
They had steel taps on them too.
Any other discussion on 6A?
You're good.
And I have no correspondence to report. And within reports, we have end of the year Friends of the Past Trails report. Who would like to present that?
I don't think it really needs a presentation. It's in the packet, so you can read over it. It basically has all the work that was accomplished by the Friends group and work that needs to be done. So read away.
In doing some math, I see that we got, 343 hours of work. And basically that's $30 an hour for highly skilled and effective work. So.
Yep.
Kudos,
Town's getting a bargain.
yes, and kudos to the organization for doing it so professionally. Any other reports?
Nope.
If no one has anything else, go ahead, Jay.
I do want to ask one quick question, Jesse. This is with regard to the Scout Trail on the Pittman property. I've been over there hiking. It's one of my favorite morning walks. I see that there's been some, I think that's tree removal for wildfire mitigation going on over there. And the heavy equipment has partially affected the Scout Trail. The shorter cutoff. Want to ask if that is what that schedule is, because that probably for wintertime hiking, that it would be good to remove some of the soil that has accumulated on the trail tread.
So I'll put on my historic hat real fast and say that we are having 50+ acres mitigated over there by a contractor through CUSP.
Yep.
And that heavy equipment, we are aware, has done some damage to the trails. He is done taking down, removing timbers there now. He'll come back next with a chipper and chip and distribute everything. That did not have, what had beetle was carried away. What didn't will be chipped and distributed. They're working over on the other side of the ridge for the rest of this week. So it's Historic's intent to have staff repair those, but we will definitely call for assistance if we need it.
Okay,
But I think Sean Ives says it's not going to be terrible.
yeah,
I think
it's
this
a
is
relatively
where-
small piece of work. I was just looking at the trail tread, and since that's one of the nicest trails in terms of our previous topic, ice damage and robustness or
Sustainability.
sustainability. Yes, thank you. Just thought I'd offer that as the option exists. It's still passable. It is not difficult. If you had people walking that section of the trail to go to the Sky Space, some people might have difficulty.
I did it this morning and just to see the amount of trees that have been taken down.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot
Fire
of,
mitigation is a good thing,
yeah, it's looking really nice,
but I'll definitely reach out to you with my historic hat on.
Sure.
Once
Yeah,
we close
please.
that
I
out.
just wanted to put that out there. It's one of the things that kind of happens over time, and I just think it's our general responsibility to help out where possible.
Much appreciated, and I will be in touch about that
Okay, thank you.
because it really has become a very popular trail.
It's a good trail. Made by good people.
Yes, all of us. All right, with nothing else, I'm going to adjourn us at 4:27 PM. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you very much.